our plant's being rescheduled. And this seems to be good news for some people, but does raise some concern for others, and I think in particular home growers. Now, some of this is speculation. This is just me kind of spitballing and some things that I've read and some concerns that I have. None of this is guaranteed of what's going to happen. But you may want to pay attention to some of these details because it could really affect us as home growers if we don't really know how to navigate this new change.
Like we always do about this time.
This video is for educational purposes only, YouTube. This video is brought to you by AC Infinity. Whether it be air control, air quality, lighting, or your tent itself, or the entire kit, AC Infinity has got you locked down, and they continue to innovate time after time again with just amazing products. Now, their products go very fast, well, because they're in high demand. Supply and demand is a real thing, and when you got a supply that's as great as this, you better jump on it quick. And when you do, make sure you use CLtv at checkout and you'll save some money on your order. If you're new here, my name is Rob and this is CLtv, and we talk all things herb. Today in particular, we're gonna talk a little bit about the government. Oh no, and how my lighter's dead. So this rescheduling is definitely something that's a monumental moment for a lot of consumers and a lot of people in general. But when it comes down to it, I think there's some confusion about what rescheduling is actually doing and where the plant now falls under. So did you know that Schedule 3 narcotics actually falls under the realm of pretty much physically or mentally abusable medicines?
Wait. What?
So now we're finally accepting the medicinal benefits from the plant, but at the same time, the government now is also saying it's potentially mentally and physically abusable. Even though in the past it was said to be that this is not an addictive substance, that it's just all in our head and just weak and we don't have self-control.
Fuck those guys.
As we're now, they're saying that there's a physical and mental dependence to this potentially. Schedule 3 drugs in particular falls under the category of things like narcotic pain relievers, such as codeine, Tylenol, Suboxone, and different opioid addiction treatments. Other things like non-narcotic medications such as stimulants for weight loss, even ketamine. And it even also covers anabolic steroids. So it seems that we have made some movement, but at the same time, this movement put us into a category of very, very regulated substances that are 100% controlled by Big Pharma. So at this point, yes, there may be benefits as consumers, but what about for us home growers? Well, here's some of my concern. My first concern is the regulatory complexity. Now, when it comes to licensing and filing to be a grower, when you were in the medical days, it was as easy as just going to see a doctor who was certified to be able to give you this kind of licensing and then essentially pay the state. As long as you're not a felon, you could be a caregiver and you could grow for yourself as a patient. Then as recreational came, it seemed to switch up and you could kind of just grow and do whatever you want. But now as this plant is being moved into a totally medicinal category, it kind of takes away some of these recreational laws and rights that we have. And of course, this goes state by state, province by province, but at the same time, when there's a federal law that's put in place or rescheduling, sometimes the states are going to jump on the bandwagon to get the benefits when they can. Now, this could potentially lead to new licensing regulations, new fees, and new processes, of course. So if you are a caregiver, or if you're a patient, or if you're even in the recreational market, you're definitely going to want to stay right on the beat when it comes to these changes and the new regulations and the laws. Another concern that I have is the cost of compliance. Now, this could potentially be a lot more expensive for those who are in the, let's say, commercial space or even, again, the caregiver space. The upfront investment and ongoing costs are something that hasn't been discussed. Now, of course, this could be something that takes a lot of time to get put into place, so it's all speculation. But when it comes to changing of these laws and rescheduling the plant, when this plant now is put into the category of essentially pharmaceuticals, it kind of changes some of the things on how it's looked at in terms of manufacturing and production. The other big concern I have is the FDA regulation. Product approval delays are definitely normal with the FDA, and it seems with the FDA there also is a little bit of maybe bias actions potentially based on corporations or investors who people may be affiliated with. I don't know, just speculation. Again, I'm not gonna throw anything out there.
Oh, plus.
But the point is FDA has definitely not had the cleanest history in the past with most citizens in America. And for me, that's kind of scary. Another large concern that I have is genetics. Now, accessibility to genetics. As long as we have the people who we deal with and the 2018 Farming Bill is still in place, we should be okay when it comes down to it. But my concern again, now the federal involvement could change things up. With the FDA's involvement kind of dictating how we're able to produce this, I also feel that genetics are going to be a thing as well. Now, rescheduling may lead to more accessibility potentially, and more people are going to be doing this with less concern of liability. But at the same time, I don't know anybody who's making anabolic steroids in their basement or in a greenhouse and flipping it online to anybody. My concern again comes down to how this is going to be looked at in terms of distribution. Is it going to have to be similar to Canada, where you have certain genetics that are only allowed to be grown at the commercial level and even potentially homegrown level? Or is it going to be a sense that we go back to the black market days and we're back to the underground and the legacy boys are back doing their thing? Could be the case. I don't know. My biggest concern is when it comes down to the regulation of breeding, sale, and distribution of the genetics. Is there going to be some restrictions? Is there going to be some meddling by the government? And will there be limitations to what we're able to do? That's a big concern for me. So if you're a home breeder or if you're somebody who's collecting, I would definitely jump on that now. And if you're looking for beans, Seedsman is the brand that works with CLtv. You could use discount code CLtv at checkout to save yourself some money. Or again, start working on some breeding projects at home to make sure that you have plenty enough genetics just in case this happens. We'll call ourselves like the doomsday grow preppers, you know? If shit hits the fan, we're gonna be okay. We'll have genetics. Don't worry about it. But those who are just getting into it, you may run into a limited variety of genetics to get in the future, depending on how these regulations come to be. Now, in a perfect world, we'd just be able to grow our plants and treat them just like tomatoes. We'd be able to grow them like anything else that produces flowers or mullein or lavender or anything like that. But because we have this government regulation, it makes it a little bit harder for the freedom of consumption, growth, distribution, essentially freedom to farm. You know, years ago, farming was a massive thing in America and all over the world. Agriculture was huge. And now it seems to be controlled by a small few. And it's the 1% of the globe that seems to dictate what the regulations are as well. Not only do they control the regulations, but they control the market. And the irony that oftentimes the same legislation that gets put in place is capitalized on by people who are investing with these companies. So it just seems maybe coincidental. Maybe I'm just Alex Jones in it a little bit too much, but in a perfect utopia, we would be able to just grow our own plants. We would be able to go to a farmer's market. We'd be able to trade with our friends and family and neighbors. We'd be able to provide this as a way of commerce, potentially. And when it's a free market and everyone's able to compete, well, the big guys can too. Corporate can as well, and so can the small guy, mom and pop shops. But the thing is oftentimes these corporations, well, they grow mids. And because of that, they oftentimes need to have regulations put in place to stop any competition. Whether this be for holistic health, whether this be for dietary supplements, it really doesn't matter. It seems that the government figures out a way to manipulate these regulations to benefit them the most. And it's usually the small few in the government. My thing is I hate both sides. It doesn't matter if it's Biden, it doesn't matter if it's Trump, it doesn't matter if it's Obama, it doesn't matter if it's Clinton, it doesn't matter who it is. The government is the government. And we're in America, and if you know the history of America, well, it's a lot of crookedness here. My hopes is that one day we're able to break through this and we're able to find the middle ground between these ridiculous regulations and freedom for the people. But in all reality, looks like the black market will be coming back. Stay lifted.
Are you a grower? Are you tired of lugging around too many bottles? Is it too expensive? Is it so confusing? Tired of reading feed charts? Well, guess what? There is an easier way. Introducing the Stash Blend. You can now get your bag of Stash Blend premium additives that you can add to your garden using just about any base nutrients. Go to stashblend.com and get your order today.